Our female protagonist today is a female prisoner. She's serving life in prison for her crimes, and she's been sent to one of the most secure prisons in the world. While she was sent there to protect her from the general prison population, she has gotten into a few fights with other inmates trying to prove that she's not afraid of anyone. Since her arrival at the prison, they have put her in solitary confinement because of how dangerous she is. The thing that makes her so dangerous are these strings that come out of her hands. She can stretch them all across the prison yard, using it to swing around and attack anyone that gets close to her. She has already killed 3 inmates and 2 guards with these strings of hers. And believe me when I say that those people didn't stand a chance against her. All she had to do is wrap those strings around their necks and pull. They were dead instantly. She has now been offered a way out of prison if she's willing to work for the warden as an executioner, executing the other prisoners using her strings. She doesn't want to do this, though, so she attempts to escape only to run right into the path of our antagonist, a black priest. He tells her that he's here to take her to her execution. At first, she tried to attack him with her strings, but he easily deflects them with these discs he was holding in his hand. These discs looked like they were made of some kind of metal, maybe iron or steel. She didn't know, nor did she care. All she knew was that these discs were hurting her. She attacked again, this time aiming for his head, but he reacted instantly, flipping over her head and landing on his feet. He said that it was time for her to come with him quietly, but she refused. She continued attacking him until he got fed up with it. He threw a disc at her, knocking her strings away. Then he teleported behind her and delivered a swift kick to her neck, knocking her out cold. He picked her up, tossed her over his shoulder, and walked off to go execute the next prisoner. Little did he know that this wouldn't be the last time he ever saw her. As he was walking through the prison, he came across a group of prisoners that wanted to make a run for it. He stood in front of them, placing his hand on the wall, and closed his eyes. When he opened them again, the prisoners had disappeared, and they had become statues. He then began to walk away until a voice stopped him in his tracks. The female prisoner was standing there with her hands stretched out, her strings attached to each of the prisoners' necks. She told him that they were gonna die together. He simply smiled and said, "You shouldn't have done that." And with that, he vanished. When he reappeared, he was standing in front of her, holding a cross. The cross began to glow, and with it, the power of God descended upon her, burning her alive. As she burned, she screamed in agony and pain. She tried to get away, but wherever she went, he was there waiting for her. Finally, she collapsed to her knees, crying out for mercy. He told her that it wasn't too late to turn herself in and accept the Lord. She told him to F off, and that she didn't want to go to heaven. And with that, he shoved the glowing cross into her chest. She let out a final scream before finally going silent. He pulled the cross out of her body and watched as she turned into a pile of ashes. He then began to walk away, but before he could get far, he was stopped by a familiar voice. "Hey, pretty priest, you killed the wrong person. You should have killed the blonde kid." The blonde kid. He turned around to see the female prisoner standing there with a smile on her face. He asked her how she was still alive, to which she simply replied, "I have a lot of strings up my sleeve." She said that she wanted to kill him, so she attacked. He blocked her strings with the cross. This gave her an idea, though. She focused all of her strength on her hands and shot a string towards him, wrapping it around his cross. She yanked hard, pulling it right out of his hands. "Now it's my turn," she said with a smirk on her face. She wrapped a string around his neck and pulled. He tried to teleport away, but it didn't work. He couldn't move. He tried to call out to God for help, but no sound came out of his mouth. He could feel his life draining away as she tightened her grip. Finally, he looked her in the eye and begged her to end his life quickly. She obliged, snapping his neck. Suddenly, everything went silent. She looked down at him in confusion, wondering why he just stopped moving. That's when she noticed the blonde boy standing behind her, holding a lollipop in his hand. He was staring at her with a murderous look on his face. Before she could react, he vanished. She heard a pop and suddenly his hand was on her shoulder. He turned her around, and the look on his face made her blood run cold. With a single finger, he pressed it against her chest, causing her heart to explode. Then suddenly, everything began to fade away. She looked down at her body in disbelief. It was disappearing, turning into nothing but pixels. Suddenly, she remembered something. Wasn't he supposed to be dead? How is he still here? She looked back at the priest only to see that he was gone. Now she was truly alone. Her consciousness began to leave her body as she looked up at the sky and waited for the end. But it never came. Instead, she found herself standing in front of a beautiful white door. Behind it, she could hear the sound of angelic singing. She knocked on the door, took a deep breath, and walked through. As soon as she stepped through, she was met with the most beautiful sight she had ever seen. There was a massive castle in front of her, surrounded by lush greenery and beautiful gardens. In the distance, she could see a city, but it looked like nothing she had ever seen before. Everything was perfect. She walked towards the castle, wanting to explore. Suddenly, she felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned around and saw a beautiful woman standing there. The woman smiled at her and said, "Welcome home." Suddenly, she felt all of the pain she had felt in her life disappear. All of the sadness, fear, and anger, it was all gone. She felt like she could finally breathe again. The woman took her hand and led her towards the castle. "Who are you?" she asked. The woman turned around and gave her a warm smile. "I am you? You are me?" Then she disappeared, leaving her all alone once more. She looked around in confusion. Where did she go? Who was she? Why was she here? Suddenly she heard a voice behind her. "Hey, aren't you going to greet your savior?" She turned around to see the blonde boy standing there with a lollipop in his hand. Before she could say anything, he vanished again. She sighed and decided to just get over it. After all, she had finally escaped that horrible prison. Maybe now she could finally start her new life. Just then, the ground began to shake. She looked up in fear as a giant portal opened up above her, sucking her into it. She screamed as she was pulled upwards. The last thing she saw was the blonde boy standing there with a sinister grin on his face. So who do you think won this fight? If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit that like button for me. It really helps my channel out a lot. The winner of this fight is the blonde kid. I know it doesn't seem fair since he barely even did anything, but according to the story that was given to us, he's actually stronger than both of these other characters. He was able to defeat the Black Priest, who was able to defeat her. So that means that he's definitely stronger than her. Plus, he's the one that caused her to be erased from existence. So yeah, I'm giving the win to the blonde kid. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button for me. I'd really appreciate it. And I'll see you all next time.